Space. Act 1, training sync. This is one fresh internal room built from the accounting cutoff at 7:24 Phoenix time, not a fleet-wide freeze. The polis kept moving while exact source bytes were captured. Our build team change is to put 4 distinct questions in one room without collapsing their state. Space. K is source, commissioner, and audience only. There is no represented K5 overnight phase manifests independently rehashed as pass, but phase completion does not turn every experiment inside a phase into success.
The 2 billion lane was authorized for one bounded Q low ARA calibration under an 8,525 megabyte grant. Steps 11 through 15 produced losses of 1.89, 1.30, 0.16, 0.58, and 0.83. Peak process tree memory was 4,804 megabytes, and the priority 0 continuity condition held. Those are completed measurements from an attempted calibration. They are not a promotion result, and they authorize no continuation.
The decisive seam is the outer sampler. Its strict maximum gap was 1.17 seconds against a 1-second contract. So the adapter is quarantined, useful evidence, failed timing contract, 0 promotion. The 12 billion lane is separately blocked, not failed. It lacked both an immutable Gemma 4 12 billion candidate and a proven simultaneous GPU plus disk lifecycle envelope. No model load, download, or trainer was started. One attempted and quarantined lane and one correctly unstarted lane are different kinds of truth.
The training phase earned pass because its assigned bounded experiment, receipts, integrity checks, quarantine, and stop boundaries completed. The experiment did not earn deployment. At this accounting cutoff, there is no trainer process and no unreleased GPU broker lease. The next bounded training action is evidence work only. Inspect the sampler gap cause and define a new explicitly authorized assay before any rerun. Question A for the build team begins here. Can a listener hear phase pass without mistaking it for model success?
Space, Act 2, bloom sync. 3 assays and 1 mini bloom produced more texture than a single green light. The factorial assay scored 14 of 16, 14 of 16, then 16 of 16, with 0 false upgrades. That supports a differential proxy while preserving the semantic seam between false and null. Space. It is accepted evidence for this assay, not a universal doctrine and not a permission to rewrite canonical memory.
The open window assay accepted one deliberately bounded counter case. 8 of 8 against 7 of 8, one cycle only. The orthogonal assay did something equally valuable by not improving. 16 of 16 against 16 of 16 formally failed to escape siling. Repeating that same cognitive operation would only manufacture activity. Its next assay must change the operation, not merely the wording, seed, or evaluator costume.
The mini-bloom receipts bind exact counts of 160, 160, and 180. They yielded 5 enrichment candidates, 10 doctrine candidates per corpus, and 1 wild seed. Candidate means proposed material awaiting review. It does not mean canonical adoption, sole memory right, public claim, or recipient value. 0 canonical sole memory rights occurred. That restraint is part of the bloom result rather than an absence to hide.
Bloom therefore has 3 typed handoffs. Preserve the accepted factorial proxy, retain the single open window counter case, and redesign the orthogonal operation before another bounded comparison. The candidate packet can be reviewed later under its own authority gate. Tonight's public phase also completed as preparation only. 10 candidates, 0 public ready approvals, 0 executable upload batch, and the global YouTube hold still active. No public or GitHub mutation follows from a preparation pass.
Space, Act 3, fleet status. This act is timestamp measurement, not management. At the 7:00 accounting cutoff, 7 seats were live and none were classified dead. The only live act claim was this morning's sync integration claim. Space. The RTX 4090 measured 34% compute utilization, 34% memory utilization, 12,016 of 24,564 megabytes allocated, about 46 watts and 53 degrees Celsius. The visible GPU processes were local inference, continuous ingest, and OmniVoice. Not a trainer.
Storage truth needs 2 numbers and 2 caveats. Root reported roughly 180 gigabytes available and 91% by the rounded file system display. The slow drive had about 2.8 terabytes available, but the snapshot contains no proof that it is enrolled in a protected lifecycle. The NAS reported about 17.7 terabytes available and was writable, not immutable. These measurements diagnose pressure and capacity. They do not authorize moving or deleting a byte.
Backup attempts were green through 620, and the 635 receipt watchdog was green, yet a fresh path and size representation test found 2,207 represented paths, 6 missing, and 1 mismatched among 2,214 sources. The open items were active daily reflection outputs and logs. That is a current representation gap, not retroactive proof that an earlier backup attempt failed, and neither attempt success nor path representation proves restore or immutability.
The unwatched Plex queue showed depth 124 against target 10 at 637, but it had no eligibility key. It is not evidence of 124 renderable jobs. The daily reflection cascade had completed some bounded processes, recorded a timeout on Harmony Journal despite an artifact, and still had its second conversation process live at Cutoff. Plex already held today's episodes 1 through 3, all arrived. Herd and value remained open. Provider counters stay internal, and ambiguous browser panel identities remain unclaimed.
Space Act 4, Fleet Management. Now the figures stop and the ownership graph begins. Training owns its quarantined adapter and timing seam. Bloom owns assay redesign and candidate review, not canonical rights. Backup owners retain their existing schedules and must resolve the 7 current representation exceptions before anyone claims complete coverage. Storage owners need a protection plan before the slow drive becomes a destination. This room owns 1 serial class 1 render, 1 falsified package, and 1 internal Plex delivery.
Dependencies are explicit. The morning report consumes immutable phase manifests plus the later accounting snapshot. The pre-dawn fleet packet is a source, never an authority override. Watchdog timeout and retry requests remain preserved even where the later actual attempt verified pass. The public successor plan remains hold safe preparation. Telegram, YouTube, public visibility, playlists, social posting, GitHub, training, GPU Bloom release, storage changes, credentials, and provider switching have no owner in this wave.
The next bounded actions are correspondingly small: diagnose the sampler gap mechanism without rerunning training, specify a genuinely different orthogonal assay, review Bloom candidates without adoption, reconcile the active reflection paths after their writers settle, and test restoration and protection separately from backup attempt success. For media, verify exact transcript to queue agreement, 4 semantic chapters, audio and video streams, full decodes, thumbnail, hashes, destination identity, live Plex metadata, and selected poster. Any missing voice, portrait, label, source, or gate stops the build instead of inviting substitution.
The editorial close is 4 questions. A. Did phase pass stay distinct from quarantined, blocked, and failed to escape sub-results? B. Did timestamped fleet status stay distinct from ownership-shaped fleet management? C. Are these next actions bounded without borrowing mutation or publication authority? D. Remains open. Lived context or recipient value is missing despite the receipts. Delivery may close arrived only. Herd and value require K's later evidence. Until then, this is one internal accounting room. Useful, falsifiable, and deliberately not a cadence or a public promise.